Henry Nicholls and Chris Woakes are two guys with good looking beards. And that's about it. That's the only thing they have in common. I mean, one's a Kiwi middle order batter, the other is an English bowling all rounder. What could they have in common? When you dig down deep into your cricket stats, you explore that both Chris Woakes and Henry Nicholls tend to be great friends with the people of the country they're touring. They take part in this friendship by letting their teams down whenever they're touring overseas. To explore the special bond, let's dive deep and look at their away stats. Chris Woakes, in the 592 overs that he has bowled away from home, has taken only 32 wickets and averages 54.18. Talking about Henry Nicholls, he has played 20 innings away from home and has scored just 473 runs with an average of 23.65. Chris Woakes doesn't have a single fifer away from home and averages the worst among bowlers touring overseas in the last 10 years, while Nicholls has only 250s away from home. Now, it's not like they're bad at their jobs. In Nicholls' case, if you look at his overall stats, he's one of the best out there. He averages over 40 in a time period where batters don't tend to score big. And there was a major dip in batters from 2019 to 2022. And Henry Nicholls still maintained to average over 40. So he's one of the best out there. But when you segregate those stats, his overall stats are skewed very much by his home stats. Even Chris Woakes seems to swing the ball miles at home, but loses half of his swing overseas. To compensate for that, he tries to put extra effort in his pace. And his highest pace overseas is 134 km per hour, which isn't helping at all. I mean, it's more than his home pace, but it isn't enough to beat an international cricketer just by pace. So what's the exact issue overseas? The thing with Woakes is, he's no different from any other English bowler out there. He doesn't stand apart like someone like Mark Wood does. He's someone who can bring pace into the game and bounce into the game, but other English bowlers tend to just rely on swing and get the new ball and have the lateral movement do its work. And now, when two premier bowlers like Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad are playing, Chris Woakes doesn't get the new ball and he doesn't get to do what he's good at. More than half of the bowlers in England are good at the skill of swinging the new ball because that is what they're getting selected for. They've played their whole life in England conditions where the ball swings. Their performance with the Duke's ball in England is what has caught the selectors' eyes. Now, it's not like Woakes is completely struggling with the Kookaburra. It's majorly the red Kookaburra because he has the fourth best average in ODIs for a touring bowler. But in Test cricket, when he tours overseas, he becomes an absolute nobody. First 10 overs, he might get a little bit swing, but as soon as he's deprived of the lateral movement, all he can be useful is for fielding. Now, every bowler doesn't need to bowl hooping out swingers, but that's what Woakes is good at. And he never got the opportunity to develop any other skills that could cement his spot in the team, and always kept being in and out of the team. The English team decided to play other bowlers who offer the same skill set over Woakes because he was not getting the results that they expected. And gradually, the England team gave up on Woakes, which led to him never improving in overseas conditions. And to make things worse, as soon as they brought him back, they made him the leader of the pack, dropped Broad, dropped Anderson, and he had that external pressure. First of all, he had to impress the selectors because he was just coming back, and then he had to lead the pack. That too on a pitch which looked like it was specifically created to destroy the career of a bowler like Chris Woakes. No lateral movement at all, no swing from the pitch, and that's how Chris Woakes' career almost got destroyed. Now look, he is really bad overseas, but England's treatment towards him is certainly worse. Coming to Nicholls' case, this is an interesting one. Between 2017 and 2019, he was suddenly among top 5 batters at that time. It didn't matter home or away. But then there was a sudden dip and it got the whole world wondering on how. Because there was no clear evidence of weakness against pace, spin or batting away from home. Looking at the stats, there was nothing eye-catchingly obvious. But a guy, and essentially a legend, Mr. Jarrett Kimber, dug down and got into the geeky mode, looked at its stats since a completely random date, 9 December 2018. Before that date, Henry Nicholls averaged a whopping 100 against off spin, which is where left-handers tend to struggle. So it seems like there's no problem there too. Maybe not. Since that date, that average has suddenly dropped down to 20 from 100 to less than 20. Less than 1/5, less than 20% of that number, which essentially is impossible to explain. And it's not like he's faced more finger spin after the date. He actually ended up facing almost half the off spin he had faced before that date. So what exactly happened that turned him from a beast to an absolute nobody? And ever since, at home he's an absolute monster. And as soon as he sits on a flight, he seems to do nothing. I mean, it's not a first time for a Kiwi batter, Kane Williamson. And to make things crazier, there's absolute no pattern at all that he's being dismissed to. No off-spinner has ever dismissed him more than twice except Ravichandran Ashwin. Still, his dismissals to ball-faced ratio against off-spin is absolutely horrendous. He's getting dismissed more than double of the times than the balls he's facing without getting dismissed. And as mentioned before, there's no pattern at all. Sometimes he's stepping out and trying to attack. Sometimes he's missing a sweep. Sometimes he's leaving one onto the stumps. Sometimes he's defending one and edge taken at slips. There's absolute no pattern at all. And still, off-spin is one nemesis that Henry Nicholls is not able to overcome.
बच्चे बुड्ढे मेरे हाण दे कलोली ने बच्चे बुड्ढे मेरे हाण दे कलोली ने वेले बन दे बदमाश ए कलोनी दे वेले बन दे बदमाश ए कलोनी